get OBS started here, so hopefully I can start recording. All right, can you quick question though. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that wasn't what happened the last time. All right.
Can,
So,
can you see my
yep, got it up.
my screen? Okay. So, well, thank you everyone. I will do a first quick presentation to introduction, and then we will carry on. We need to thank Rick and 8SDR for the idea, and Dave WD9 November for uh, to support the idea. And I am Maximo, one DTO, just trying to collaborate here. So, road to where we are. I don't know how many of you, but we used to come previously from something like that one, a number of modules, professional audio modules, a stack of them, 1, 2, 5, 10, whatever. And this it was working and it's still working very good for many of us. The good thing, the best thing is the how good the modules are, some of them. But for our use, they are sounding very good, and you can get very good audio. Even there are, as you know, there are some uh, tune modules, the Voodoo and all of those, so you can get very good audio. What's the bad points here? Well, you first of all you need a good number of modules because every module is only normally doing one or two things. So if you want to get a very good audio, you need a number of modules. For example, in my case, there you can see 5 modules. So yeah, you need a number of them. Those modules they occupy uh, a space. You need some room for this stack. Some people they used to have even a proper rack on the floor full of modules. So yeah, you need some space. Then the costly. Every module, uh, yeah, you can find models for $100, but you can go up to whatever you want, a grand or more. So at the end, if you have many modules, is a good amount of money. And the point there is when you need to or you want to touch them to modify the audio is is easy, but you need to know where to go with your finger, what to touch, and is not a friendly action. Need some experience, and you need a good monitoring and lot of things. So it's not it's the I call the old school. And what happened when you go to, for example, for YouTube, and you let me look for some tutorial or how can I get this audio or that audio. Everything you will get is based on digital. No one is showing you the those modules going to the preamp or this or no. It's very difficult to find in these days. Everything is digital. When you go for a tutorial or how to do this or how to do that, everything will go to the screen and the mouse moving with the computer, this moving that, the spectrum, all of that. Very nice things. So when I saw that, I thought, yeah, that's something uh, more friendly for us instead of moving the knobs here and there on the modules. Yeah, that with the mouse, very nice, very friendly. Yeah, it was something impacting, something nice to have. Some years ago, we got something called DAW, which is a digital audio workstation. It was based on a computer. And what's the thing that the you need a very good computer, and there is an audio delay. That it was very good for edition when you have a recording and you modify there. But for us, which is a live, is not that good. You always need a computer. If the computer fails or whatever, you lose your sound. There is a delay. Many things that the the DAW at the end is not good for us. But what happened between 2014, 2017, they came to the market. What we are talking today is the digital mixers, hardware based. They use only computer only to do the configuration, but then you can disconnect, turn the computer off, and the box will carry on working with no computer at all. So because it's hardware, there is no delay. Well, delay, there is always a delay, but you can't feel the delay because it's very small. So it's very good. And the best thing is affordable for us because it's not a professional studio uh, device. It's something small for home use, for a small studio, for anyone playing any instrument and things like that. So it was a good option. Um, in in 2020, 4 years ago, I in my case I found these devices because I had no idea about them. And yeah, 4 years ago I found it. I don't know, looking for things, and I found this, and I said, that's looking good. I was looking for something like the DAW, but on hardware. So at the beginning, I couldn't find it because it was advertised as a mixer, and I didn't need a mixer that time. I was looking for a interface, not a mixer. But I ended on the Behringer uh, website, and I found the digital mixer. And yeah, for me it was checking the specs. I thought, wow, this is more likely what I looking for, what I need. But at that time, 4 years ago, I couldn't find anyone in the radio, in the ham radio, using those devices. So I had a concern. Yeah, I don't know if no one is using this. Maybe it's not good or something. So I had to investigate from my side, asking here and there. And well, at the end, I made a decision and I've got one. And wow, since then, well, here we are. Very good thing. Uh, now and then, uh, we had a few models, brands to select, to choose. There are the 3, 4 more famous. The Apollo Twin from Universal Audio is the picture on the left. The Behringer is the one we are talking today. And Midas is the same as Behringer, is a different brand from the same Behringer group. Uh, the one from Soundcraft, Focusrite, and some others. We need to say that the Apollo Twin is not a is advertised as a computer interface, not a mixer. But for our use, uh, doesn't matter because yeah, I didn't. In my case, I was looking for a device, not a mixer. But at the end, if you get several inputs and outputs, yeah, it's something you can use. If you have that, you can use it. Um, and there we are. So from 4 years ago, 2020, I moved from that rack of modules with knobs and buttons and this and that for this interface, very friendly, graphical interface. You connect your computer and you can do all the settings easily, and visually you can get the spectrum. Now in the next minutes, Dave and Rick will show you. So uh, yeah, the last 4 years I was using this device, Behringer XR18, and I'm very happy. And I think this is something like not the future because it's already present, but what I mean is that uh, it's difficult to come back to the modules, to the individual modules. You can, same as you can get a vinyl or a CD with the music, but now everything is MP3 or digital. So this is something like that. You can, yeah, come back to the modules, but when you are here, it's difficult, yeah, to come back. And that's the my introduction. So now we'll carry on. It's Dave or Rick.
Clarify the it's more of a GUI interface with the computer. It doesn't, like Maximo said, it doesn't use any system resources because the actual computer is built into the Xair or the Midas or the Soundcraft, whichever device it is that you're using. You only have a GUI interface that's being used by the computer, so you're not sucking down any resources, which is great for us that are using SDR devices with computers, because we want to keep those resources to a very minimum so that the radio has full access to all the resources, so you don't get any stuttering and glitches and things that go on with that. So thanks again, Maximo. And Dave, I'll let Maximo, yep, there we go. Switch over to Dave.
All right, let me get my screen up here. And we're up. Okay, so I think I'm going to run through just a basic. If you decide this is a unit for you to use, kind of what you're in for. If you have no idea what that is and you're looking at that image on the screen, you're going, that's a lot of connections. What do I do with all that? And we'll just kind of run through it. Get started. Here's the confusing part. This is how it is, a basic diagram of how I'm set up here with everything in the shack goes to mine. Not everyone does that. Rick does his differently. I have my open air speakers that are run off of it. My headphones are run off of it and all that. Let's see. Somewhere I have, yeah, right here. If you go to this link, you will get to Behringer's site where you download the actual software that drives the GUI for this. And it's a little screwy if you look through all this, but if you just come up here and type in Xair, or maybe the model number of what you've got, you'll get into all the X32 stuff and all that. But you can just go Xair and just pick the appropriate one for the model you've got, whether it's 12, 16, 18. And do pay attention to the date, because they do still have the older software up there. You're probably going to want to make sure you get the newest stuff. And this is what it looks like when you first run that. So to get connected to your actual mixer, you'll come over here and you'll click setup. And if it doesn't show up here, just come up here and click rescan. It should find it on your network, depending on how you're connected. And all that's done up here. You can run it as an access point or a client. I would strongly recommend you run it on the LAN. If you try to run it as its own access point, it gets kind of flaky, particularly if you're in an environment with other wireless networks. I've had it lock up. I had one lock up. The unit doesn't shut down. It just stays whatever state it's in. Wherever you had everything set, you'll lose your Wi-Fi link to it, and that's where it's stuck. You have to power cycle it to change that. I had that happen to me at a live event one time. I was not real happy, but it was small, so no big deal. But I do recommend you run on the LAN. So once you're there, you just click connect, and it's going to ask you, where do you want to synchronize this? Now, I've already got one up and running. In fact, that's what this audio is coming through. So I can't run whatever's set up here on the PC to that thing, or I just dumped all my settings. So I'm going to select to take whatever settings are already in the mixer, and it's going to import those into the GUI. And that's what I'm currently running. So from there, you have all kinds of stuff to look at. And if you've never run a mixer at all, you're lost. And if you've run a mixer, you see a lot of things that are familiar, the common mutes and your faders to change levels, all that kind of stuff. Gosh, where to go from here? I guess we'll just go in as if we're going to set a channel up. I have a Shure SM58 here. I've played with it. You can see there's some EQ stuff in here, but I'm just going to turn that off for now. And we'll go back to this. The first thing you want to do is come into your input. And if you are, let me just bring this up and show you, you can plug a microphone into any one of those and on your XLR. And when you come here to your input, that is selecting the physical input. So I'm on input 1 and channel 1. You could come here to channel 2, and you can also tell it you want to use that microphone on input 1. And now you see the levels there are the same. Both of those are pulling off of that same physical input. If there was some need for that, but that's just, I don't need Phantom on that. Okay. I do, however, need Phantom on that. You get lost. Like I'm going to turn myself off. I knew this was going to happen too. Told Rick that. He's probably back there laughing. Aren't you? Yeah, okay. So anyway, we'll get on the right channel here. You have the mic gain here, and I am on the right channel, so I can do this. You have to get this head amp gain structure right. This is the first preamp that the microphone signal encounters. And you want to see that running right about this -20 on a digital mixer. On an old analog console, you would have been maybe up here at 5, but on the digitals, you want to be around 20 because at 0, anything past 0 is clipping in digital. So you want to be down around -20 with that input signal. So we'll just, we'll dial that up there and we'll get it. Yep, right there's pretty close. The peaks are hitting up about 20. And from there, you can come to your noise gate. I'm going to switch over to that microphone now. And there we go. And there's no EQing or any kind of processing effects like that, I don't think. Let me look. Oh, yeah, it actually is. I can get rid of these. And you can tell the noise gate isn't in. So we will come over here and get back into the noise gate. This sets the trigger level. And I don't know, I can hear it in my headphones, whether you guys hear it or not, I don't know. But now you can hear that the background noise has disappeared. So that's one of the first things. And this sets just how much reduction you have when it's closed. And you can set that either as a gate or an expander, slightly different behavior. As a gate, it's more of an on-off switch, where an expander, it's more, it just quiets it down, so it's a smoother transition sometimes. On your attack, I have found on these Behringers that if you take it all the way to 0, you get a pop when the gate opens. So I wouldn't go below, 1 or 2 milliseconds is sufficient to keep that from popping. And then we'll get into the EQ, and most people are familiar with that. So we'll bring that in, and that takes up correcting a little bit of the frequencies. You can bring the RTA up and look at that as a pre or a post, and it overlays that right on the screen. So you can kind of see where the energy's at and what to do with that. So if you come in here in your mid-range, you can crank that up, and it starts sounding hollow and nasally, or just use it to correct and things for your voice or whatever. And I noticed something I need to go hit here. This is a funny thing I found out on my X-Air, kind of by accident. When I flip that polarity, it sounds more like what's going out. If I leave that polarity straight, it sounds super muddy in my headphones. And I know that's because of listening to the echo and the resonance inside your head. So that might help you out, just to flip that polarity so it sounds a little more natural to you in your headphones if you're monitoring that way. The other option is to just make a recording of the raw microphone and then play that back in and use that to make your settings. Then you're not getting distorted by that. But anyway, you'd come in here and set up what you need in your EQing. If you need to take a bunch of stuff out wherever, and you can kind of hear that change in there as that does that. And, maybe a little highs, just whatever you need to get into. The compressor, the compressor's already engaged. So what that is doing in compression, you're taking your quietest sound and your loudest sound and getting them closer together so that you can get your average talk power, the average volume overall is louder than. AM broadcast stations were famous for doing this in the early days because when you tuned across the dial, that loudest station, whatever you perceived to be the loudest audio, was a lot of times what would catch your attention and get you listening to their station. We use it to kind of keep from overshooting the ALC when you're driving into a radio. It kind of knocks some of the peaks off and keeps you in a more usable range for the radio. These settings here, I can take it out. You're not going to hear a lot of change in this, but you can see this here is the amount of gain reduction. Here, 2 to 3 decibels, and that is, it's reducing the volume by 2.5 decibel for every decibel over this threshold, wherever that is. And you have to play with all this and see what works for your environment and your room, your voice, and the way you speak. Then you get into the crazy hard, you get lost stuff. And that is these sends here. Each one of these is sending to a different bus. This one, for example, to bus 2, which is my computer output. That's the level that's actually going out to Discord right now. Bus 4 and 5, different stuff. Over here, this is where you're sending to your effects. And there's 2 ways to get to this. You can click over right here on the right side where it says FX2, and then you just grab this volume. You'll notice all these are now highlighted in dark blue that matches this color right here on the effects channel. So when you click that, these become what they call sends on fade. So any one of these channels you want to send into that effect, you just turn it up right here. Don't need any of that in there. Okay. What else can we get into? I guess you need to know how to set effects in there, don't you? So this tab here, the effects, this gets you into all your effects, and there are a lot of them. People think the price tag for one of these is expensive, and I dare you to go buy all the effects that are in this rack that is showing up here, and you're going to spend thousands. And Rick will get into it later with some of these, but there's a lot of these for using this for just a mic channel, feeding radio and amateur radio. They're absolutely useless. Others are just wonderful. But you just, pick on whatever you want to select here. We've already got the plate reverb in there. And you click on this, and you can adjust, your pre-delays, your decays, all the characteristics of that effect. I don't really want to get into those with this. We're trying to keep this basic, and you could probably do, at least a 30-minute class on each one of these effects to really know what's going on in them. You can just play around with them. We can actually share stuff. If you'll see, it says save here. I can click save on this. It will bring up a window where you can tell it where you want to save it on your computer as a file, give it a name, and you can share that with someone, and they can load it right into their mixer and try out what you've got set up for a reverb. It's also great because you can save that, and if you want to play around, you save that, do your playing around, you go, no, I just messed that all up, I don't like it. You just bring that back in, click the load, it'll bring up the window, and you can load back in whatever you had in there before, and you didn't hurt anything. So that's something nice to remember on these. Is it's sort of like profiles in the SDRs. You can just save a scene, and it's like bringing a profile back. Okay, where to go from here? All right, you've got it sent. Let's see, you send some signal to this, and like for me, going out to my radio here, it's showing the B1 going out, but if we were going to bring this SM58 in here, you're going to bring that level up. And you'll see over here, I've also got the reverbs brought up. And that's paralleling versus inserting. You'll see here, this one's got the insert highlighted. And the difference in that is here, where your SM58 would come into here. An insert sends signal to a processor and right back into that channel. Then you can send that out to another effect and to the buses. And you can also, on that effect, have a processing going on here. So you get whatever this signal is now mixed with this effect. So if you're just adding some reverb in, you can add that in. And now in my setup, the bus 1 goes out to my transmitter. So you're getting your regular dry mic signal, as we call it. You could have a reverb in here and mix that reverb in. And now this becomes the level control for that output to the transmitter to set your audio level going into that transmitter. Okay. All right, Rick, jump in here. Where else do I need to go?
Did you want to cover, I don't know if you want to cover it now, aren't you in max mode, like the DI boxes, the microphones, or do you want to cover that at the end? I could go through the useful effects real quick.
Okay.
And then we can go whichever way you guys want to do that. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, let's see.
I would say to continue with the effects.
Continue with the effects and then come back to the actual equipment that we're using. Okay. All right. Works.
Okay.
You done with what you need to do there, Dave? And
well, that's what I was asking. Have I missed anything? Because I mean, the only thing I haven't really touched on is anything on equipment and stuff. And I guess maybe I should hit that a little bit quickly before we move on.
Yeah. And one other thing, when you were mentioning how you can save individual settings for an individual effect, there's also an option if you want to show them how you can do.
Yes, right here.
Create what they call a scene, or it's actually an overall profile that has all of the settings for all of the effects, your equalizer and everything else.
Yes.
You can import and save those as well.
That's done right here. You click on save and it says save as scene. You click that and you get a window that pops up, and you save a file, and it is like every setting in here, with the exception of your, no, I still got that open over there. Hang on. Your settings here are going to stay the same. And some of this kind of stuff here, which basically the way these come from the factory, you're not going to have to get into this. This stuff here can drive a man to drinking. It's just too much to get into for the basic stuff. But just to get your feet wet in it and see what you can do with this, that's a good start. The one thing I wanted to touch on, I guess, before we kick onto this other stuff, is this kind of thing right here. The equipment you're running. If you're using $5 headphones, you're probably not hearing half of what the mixer's doing and your microphone. So if you think you're going to tune your audio up listening on cheap junk headphones and put it on the radio and it's going to sound great, it's not. You've got to have accurate equipment to listen to it and monitor it, because that becomes your reference. And if your reference is so far off of everybody else's stuff, if let's say you're on headphones, they don't produce sound below 100 hertz. And you're sitting there thinking, oh, I need more bass in my signal. I need some more low frequencies. So you keep turning those up in your EQ, and then you drive that into your radio equipment. The guy on the other end is going to think you sound like a bullfrog. It's just going to be terrible. So you've got to have some decent equipment. And the stuff I'm running here is by no stretch high dollar equipment. These Superlux 668B headphones, they're like $40 US, and they're very accurate. Probably some of the cheapest headphones you'll ever find that sound as good as they do. My open air speakers are these Klipsch Pro Medias. They play clear down to 30 hertz. They start to roll off at 40, but they still have response all the way down into 30, 35 hertz. So if you're looking for something that's pretty flat and inexpensive, these are a little over $100, $120, something like that now. The microphone I'm currently on is this Behringer B1 with that screen. That's actually a photo of the mic right here in the shack. So you've got to have a reference to listen to. Rick uses Presonus Eris studio monitors. I think you can get a pair of those for like $150 or something like that. So there's a lot of options out there to shop around, and you've got to have something you can hear on. Otherwise, everything you're doing is for nothing. I think that is probably everything I need to get into. Rick, I'll kill my stream and let you take over. If I can figure out how to stop my stream.
Down at the bottom, just hit stop.
I got it.
There you go.
I found it.
Okay. Deal. The line up here and give me a second. I got to get. Did I just do? Hold on a second here. I've just messed myself up. That's what I've done.
And we talked about this before.
Yeah, I know. Hold on a second. It's my screen. Here we go. Share my screen. And share. Sorry. Give me a second, guys. I'm flying here up the seat of my pants again.
That's how we all fly.
It is. My slideshow not coming up the right way. This is not good. Screen. Dave, which screen is showing up?
I see your slides. Your Behringer XR series says useful effects for TX audio.
Do you see just the white one, or do you see the one that has the next slide?
No, I see your control screen.
Okay, so I need to swap this. Okay. Now we should be good. All right. Sorry, guys. Flying by the seat of my pants. So there are, like Dave mentioned, a whole lot of different effects that are available in a Behringer, or the Midas or the Soundcraft series of these digital mixers. Um, Really giving them the name mixer, I think, is kind of deceiving, and it makes things seem confusing because it's like Maximo mentioned earlier. It's really not only a mixer. I mean, you've got a lot of different pieces of a rack equipment, you know, um, various EQs, compressors, and a lot of other things that are available. The average cost of like the XR 12, which is the first versions of the XRs, or the basic version, I should say, where it gives you four channels. There's actually 12 channels total, but four of those are the XLR TRS comboed input jacks, and then everything else is 1/4 inch jacks on them. The If you were to go through and add all those different effects up, you would, like Dave mentioned, you'd have a lot of money sunk into rack equipment. And the nice convenient thing here is, going back to what Maximo said earlier, one of the big advantages of running a digital mixer, um, something like the XR series or the Midas or Soundcraft, whatever it is, there's a big advantage of shooting off RFI. With separate rack pieces, you're going to have patch cables between all those different devices. And as all of us know, in the amateur community, every piece of wire acts like an antenna. So you're just inserting more points of RFI injection of picking up stuff that you don't want to when you go into transmit and broadcasting it back over the air. So that's a huge plus. And we'll get into another couple devices that'll help shield a lot of that off there as well, when we get done with some of the effects here. So what I find are a lot of the useful effects are the X-Tech, or which are emulations of the Pultec um, equalizers. Specifically, the EQ5 I like to run. It's more of a mid-range to high-end frequency um, EQ. It doesn't do a lot for the bottom end, but you can make that up with the regular graphics EQ or the standard EQ that's in the channel itself. The de-esser is another one that's very popular to use for taming down sibilants, your S's, plosives, things like that. The laser compressor is another good compressor to use on vocals or just spoken word. And then the dual combinator is actually my favorite compressor to use. It's a multi-banded compressor. It's based after the old Behringer, which is no longer made, the MDX 8000. And then you have the enhancer, which is, a lot of people will know that is the SPL Vitalizer or the Vitalizer Pro. A good place to get a lot of the info on the way that these effects get set up, how to configure them, where to insert those in your mix, or on the bus. There is an individual whose name is Drew Brashler, and he actually has an audio website where he goes over a lot of the stuff for the XR series. Mainly, he's using the X32, which is a 32 channel version of the 12, the 16, and the 18. Don't let that really confuse you by looking at that, because the layout's a little bit different, the way that they come up, but the overall process of how they use these are very much the same. So loading that particular effect up when you go to these websites, it's going to look a little bit different and confusing, but it works the same way. Once you actually get into the device, it works the same way. And I'll bring a couple of them up. I can show you how to access them. You can actually pop them out of the individual little windows, so you have more control over them. He has a great series on the effects tutorials. I would highly recommend. I will make this presentation, this part of the this PowerPoint slide that I'm doing here, I'll make that available in one of the text channels. I'll probably just create another one called XAir presentation, and Dave and Maximo and I will drop information in there, so you guys will be able to download these for reference as well, and they'll have the hyperlinks in it for for Drew's site and the effects tutorials. Hopefully, I don't lose my voice. So the Pultec, the MEQ5 is, like I mentioned, is probably one of my favorite ones. I run this directly after it's my first effect. It's inserted on my mic channel and then back out. This one gives you 2 bands of boost and 1 band of cutting EQ ranges. And this particular effect is really good for working between 200 hertz and 7K. So again, it doesn't have a lot of the bottom end stuff, but this effect works great for getting rid of that mid band, 500 to 700 range of that droney kind of boxy audio that a lot of people fight with when they're trying to EQ and get that weird artifact, excuse me, the weird artifact out of their audio. This thing works great for that. The next, and there's a link in here that'll show you how to basically go about setting this up. So all of these slides that I'm going to show you with the little pop outs will have links to that particular effect and how to set those up from, excuse me, from Drew's site. The de-esser, again, this is good for getting rid of, your sibilants, your S's, things that carry over, and your plosive. Another use that I'll get into a little bit later that I don't particularly use the de-esser, you can also do this with a multiband compressor as well as taming down sibilants as well. But these things are used, in broadcast stations, live broadcast, radio, television, of course, in recording studios. De-essers are a very popular effect or module to use. The Leisure compressor, this thing is actually modeled after the LA2A Classic, which is a really well-known compressor in the recording industry. It's also good for a lot of radio and broadcast to kind of level things out, get more of an overall, like Dave mentioned earlier, consistent power output gain, where you don't have a big drop off. Some words have plosives where they're a little bit stronger effect dynamically, and some words are a little bit weaker. You don't say them with as much emphasis on them. So this kind of levels that all out, which will keep your power ratio up. Again, there's links to how to set that up in the slide here, which I'll make available. And the dual combinator. This thing's a little confusing by the name combinator. It's really a multi-band compressor. You can go through and set to a point where the crossovers take place between each one of the bands. It is 5-banded. I love this thing. It took me a long time to get this thing figured out and how to set it up. I would strongly recommend that you use this as your last effect. I apply mine on the main right and left bus on the output, so it is the last effect that takes place, and it keeps things really level with the audio going out. And it's had a really good. I've had a lot of good experience with it. There is a 2-part series of this with a video with Drew, because there's a lot of stuff in this, and we don't have enough time to get into this of how to physically set one of these up. So I would strongly suggest looking at Drew's video, and then later on, if you have questions, leave them in the chat or over on one of the Discord channels, and we can go through and retouch on some of these effects and actually go through a walkthrough later on if there's interest in it, of how to set one of them up from scratch. Another good effect to use is the enhancer which is a clone of the SPL Vitalizer. Again, more of a leveling audio type of effect. You could kind of call it a compressor in a way, but some people like this thing. I personally, I tried it a few times, and for me, it didn't work. But I think mainly because I like to use the multiband compressor more. I just think the multiband compressor is a little more effective of trying to level out your overall loudness. But this is another decent effect to use to play around with. As far as a little bit of plating on your vocals, kind of gives a little more clarity on your speech going out over the air. You basically, when you run plating or plate reverb, you basically just want to hear a very short tail of the reverb. You don't want to make it an echoey effect, okay? And try to concentrate more on your upper higher frequencies, and it should be very subtle. There shouldn't be a big noticeable difference with it on and with it off. You should just be able to tell that there's a little bit of more clarity you'll hear when it's in the on position. If you're starting to get an echoey effect, like you're, in a hall or a canyon and you're saying something and it's echoing like crazy, that's way too much. You don't need that. Just bring it back. Use, just like in EQing, it's better to adjust a little than adjust a lot. And in EQing, not to get into the big subject of EQing, but you should always cut before you add. So that's kind of the effects that I would start with. Like I said, there's a lot of them that are in here. There's many that you could use for all kinds of things outside of the amateur radio community. Recording, if you want to play around. That's another nice thing about this. A lot of us, we have other hobbies besides amateur radio. Some of us like to play music or do recordings, maybe play guitar, things like that. The whole one of these digital mixers is very useful for other aspects of different hobbies that you have too that involve sound. So it's a very well versed multi-purpose tool. And let's see, with that, let me turn it back over to I need to get back over to, I guess Maximo will go over the some of the DI boxes and things like that. So let me.
I need to add here that in my case, for example, because I have the XR18, plenty of inputs and outputs.
Yes.
I'm processing the reception audio from two radios. So I'm using the microphone with a specific EQ key and effects going to the radio, but then the receiving audio from two different radios is coming into the XR18 in a different ports and having a different EQ and sounding in the I have a couple of monitors speakers, so it's not only for the microphone but as well as Rick said, you can connect a guitar, or you can connect the audio equipment or the audio from the computer, the reception audio from the radios, plenty of connections. So, and you can have a different EQ, different setting for every of them.
Yeah, and like Dave mentioned earlier too, where Dave's actually not only I use mine mainly for transmit and maybe some OBS stuff for some video recording here and there, but Dave likes to use his on transmit and receive. So he actually has his setup coming back out of his receiver as well, which you can go ahead, Dave. I'll let you touch on that.
Yeah, that's the I come from a background of front of house sound engineering. So we're control freaks. So everything in the shack goes into my mixer. My computer, the radios, I mean, like my 2 meter 440 is not, but the HF radios, and if I had multiple HF radios, they would all go into that because I can mix whatever I want into my headphones and send it to the headphones. Um, my left right output I use to open air speakers. Rick uses it to drive to the radio. And there's a lot of different ways to do this stuff. So don't get hung up on what any one way, one of us is telling you, because there's a lot of different ways to set this up. Go ahead.
Okay. Maxim, I'll let you go ahead if you want to talk about the DI boxes. If there's anything you want to share, I know you have your own series of DI boxes, but if you want to explain what a DI box does,
Yeah.
that
Can
would
you
be
see
helpful.
my slide? Can you see my slide? Yeah.
Yes, I see it.
Okay. This is for the XR18, but applies the same for any of those audio rack modules or any professional audio equipment. As we know, all of them, or 99% of them, they use the famous XLR connectors. And as you know, those connectors they use to bring balanced audio, positive, negative, and the ground. And the audio level is up to plus 4 dBu. The to feed to inject the audio out from the XR18 to the radio. Uh, Many of us we use the microphone input is the usual input for the audio, and the microphone input is expecting a level around minus 40 minus 50 dBu is a typical dynamic microphone with no preamplifier, just the dynamic capsule. So and this input is unbalanced. So we have in one side balance at plus 4, and the other side we have the radio is unbalanced and minus 40. So that's not matching. It's same as the dipole antenna and the coaxial cable, right? We need a volume there to adapt that. Here is something is not exactly the same. There is no SWR, but we need to. It works if you don't do anything, will work, but more likely we'll get problems, noises and problems. So you need to something in between any pro audio equipment and the amateur radio. We need basically three functions to do. One is to pass from balance to unbalance. It's like a volume. And the second one is to reduce the level from plus 4 to minus 40. So we are talking about 40 dBs attenuation. And the last thing to do is it's not a must, or it's a must, is because if you don't isolate both equipments, the grounds, yeah, you at the same more likely you will get ham noises, ground loops, hot mix, and things like that. So it's very good idea to isolate what this is the audio equipment from the radio equipment. Uh, how you do that? Well, with an adapter, and that adapter hardware, that piece of hardware, uh, will your audio will pass through the box. So you can spend uh, big money in a microphone, the mixer, all of this stuff, and then you place an adapter that is very low quality, and you are ruining all you got at the beginning in your audio equipment. You're ruining everything because you are placing a low quality device. So it's important to keep the same quality level, microphone, your audio mixer, all of that thing, and the adapter before to reach the radio. The easy way, cheap, low quality, sometimes for the starters, because I've done it at the beginning years ago when still with the racks. I've been looking for something and I couldn't find it, and okay, so I created one myself with a D box, direct injection box. Those boxes are made to connect, for example, a guitar into a audio chain. The guitars are same as the our radios are unbalanced, and the audio equipment is balanced, as I said. So these boxes, DI boxes, are adapting the unbalance to balance. So what we need to do is to use it all the way around, because it's a passive equipment. There are active as well, but we need to stay away from them because are different thing. So the passive one, as you can see, this is a Behringer DI 400. You open the box and you only see a few connectors and a transformer in the middle. Yeah, but we use the connectors. We use the XLR as input and the jack, which is unbalanced, as output. The transformer is isolating both ends, and what we add is in the middle is the attenuator with a few resistors. It's very easy to calculate. There are many calculators in internet. You say, I need to 40 dB attenuation, and you get, okay, you need a resistor of this value, this value, and this value. You solder in those resistors there, and that's it. You got the isolation, you got the balance to unbalance converting, and you got the attenuation as well. But this is working. But yeah, when you are starting, you are happy, you don't know too much, so it's okay. But then you realize that this is a low quality. This transformer is not good with the low frequencies. With the high frequencies, is 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 low quality. So you need to go to same as this, but better quality. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything in the market, so I built one myself. Yes, yeah, the attenuator or the pad. There are three or four different types depending on the configuration. There is the T1, the P, the T, the bridge T. Yeah, there are a number of them, different ones. All of them works. Yeah, they all work. In my case, I found that the best for the best one, the best configuration for me, it's someone called Bridge T. But yeah, all of them work. So I came to this one. Is the same as the previous one, but the transformer is a handmade transformer from audiophile guys, and yeah, it's the it has a every the input is isolated from the output, and all of that is in a isolated box, and yeah, it's handmade. It's very good. The frequencies are uh, I don't remember. I think it's up to 150,000 hertz are going through there. It's the one of the best in the world. Not cheap. The XLR connectors, the same thing. I've been looking for something good, and I've got the Neutric connector. Is a metal case with a shield and has a special uh, tips the inside to make the better connection. Are gold plated. Yeah, best of thing. And inside, I I add as well a capacitor, and it's incredible. I don't know if you believe me, but depending the capacitor, the audio is changing. I thought for me it was difficult beginning because a capacitor is a capacitor. There is nothing active, nothing to do. But yeah, it affects. If you use a regular capacitor, yeah, the audio is degraded a bit. And if you use a specific high quality audio capacitor, the improves the audio, sounds better. So well, I ended using this Nichicon brand from Japan, and the name of the capacitor is Fine Gold. So that gold, it came to me to my head. I said, okay, I will call the box golden for the capacitor, and Maxima is the name of my daughter. So I call the box Golden Maxima. Apart of that, yeah, I'm using very good SMD resistors called Thin Film that are, yeah, is the best quality of them. Aluminum case, and normally I provide a cable as well to the specific radio if someone is asking me, because I haven't said that, but I'm selling these boxes to anyone who comes to me asking. There is no, you can't find this box anywhere else. It's something I do under order, specific order. But yeah, you can do it yourself. Is the design and all of that is in internet in my website. But if anyone comes to me, I get one ready for him. No props. Um, yeah, that's everything from my side. I don't know if there is any question or anything. I'm happy to respond.
Yeah, we'll do some Q&A after we get done here. I think Dave, you had a short list of kind of equipment, didn't you?
I do. I actually posted it up over in the chat,
Okay.
the text chat here, and we can also put something together in the presentations channel here on the server as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try to make all the slides and everything available as well. And
Sure.
I'm trying to record this on OBS as well, so I'll share it out on YouTube, and I'll put a link.
Yeah, I see.
Over here.
Maxima just put a link over in the text channel for his
Yep. By all
his stuff
means.
as well.
Yep.
Something else I would also like to mention. We didn't really touch on ferrite. Buy ferrite by the pound. Every cable I have in here, power cables, every cable going in and out of everything has at least one ferrite on it, if not one at each end, sometimes multiples. Some of them I've wound on 250 cores, use like a mix 43 and make multiple turns, especially if you're running, 1,000 watts, 1,500 watts. Just to keep RF out of everything, you're gonna put ferrite on stuff, or you're gonna get RF into something and start destroying what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's another thing that's really good with like the box that Maximo mentioned as well. Isolating that audio transformer from everything else will help shield a little bit of RF of getting on things and inject it into the radio. It's another benefit of doing this.
Okay, just to reiterate, Tim just sent me a IM and asked about the direct boxes.
Yeah.
For what we're doing, do not get an active direct box. You're going to want to use a passive.
Yep. You an active direct box, you're going to stand a chance of injecting a lot of stuff that you do not want in the audio chain for RF, and into the radio.
Yeah, are we going to do like a Q&A here, or
Yeah, we'll do
do?
a Q&A here. If there's anybody in the audience that has a question or whatever, there's a little option. You can do like a little hand raise, and we can pull you up and add you to the speaking panel so you can ask your question, and we'll try to answer it. Or if you want to put something in the chat window, you can do it there. We can touch on it as well. I don't have the chat window open, so
Yeah, it looks like Peebo's typing something.
okay.
He says, guys, I cannot talk. I have my youngest grandson slipping in the living room. He is ill. Okay.
Well, Peebo,
All right, well,
Peebo,
prayers.
I hope your grandson feels better. And again, Porter says hi to Icky.
I think that was supposed to be sleeping.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Well, if you have a question, type it in the chat if you need, or raise your hand here and we'll get to you.
Go in once.
He's typing again.
Okay.
Something we forgot to say is about the scenes files. We also share a complete scene file covering the whole thing in that group in groups.io.
Yes.
We have that XR group, and there is a folder where we uh, most you Rick, we share in the files.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the chat unless you've already done it. You
The same configuration.
Yeah,
it's there.
Okay, yeah. Maximo has a really nice groups IO for the XR series over there. So again, that's a good place to find the complete scene files or individual files as well. I'll post some individual files there and here for like how I've set my Commander or Combinator up and the pull tech. I'll put those individual ones out there in case somebody wants to play with them. And again, even if you, like Dave mentioned earlier, even if you don't actually have an XR, but you want to kind of get an idea what all the availability in them is, what all you can do with them, you can download that software from Behringer. We'll try to put the link to the Behringer site in there as well. You can load that software up without the device. There's a couple things that are limited in it. Obviously, it's not going to physically do anything, but you can graphically see, what each effect does, how it works. Some of the effects pay attention to, like the plate verb effect. That actually has 3 pages of things to scroll through. Actually, I probably should have brought that up. Let me share. I'll share my screen again.
Hang on, I've got mine up.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
It should have stopped. Why did it not? Okay, there you go.
It's not.
I just dropped mine, so you should be able to come up now.
Okay. Let me actually bring my XR up in my screen.
I put the link to the Behringer site where you find and download that in the chat, as well as I had it up on the screen on a slide as well. So either place.
Okay.
If someone wants to go download the software and play around with it, you can. You don't have to have the device. It'll let you play with the software as if you were running the device, so to speak.
Yep.
You just don't get to hear anything it's doing.
I think is my XR shared?
It is.
Okay. So, like I was mentioning earlier, a lot of these you'll see these little displays in here. You can actually click on these, and they'll pop out, which gives you a lot more. Actually, it is how you control everything. So you can grab a hold with your mouse and adjust your sliders and your knobs and all of that. The plate one, which is the one I wanted to mention, this plate reverb, you'll see one of 3. There's actually 3 panels here. So pay attention in the bottom corner of some of the effects, because there are multiple settings in some of these. Plate verb is one that comes to mind. I think there's a few other ones that do. But they're simple. You can, if you like the rack effect and you like looking at racks, you could drag these things out. You could, I think you can pop these out on, might not be able to do it because I'm in panel mode, but you can stack these. Oh, yeah, I
Your
can drag
mixed
them.
series covering the other one up.
Yeah, it's covering the other one up. You can, stack these up. There we go. You could build a virtual rack. It's basically what the thing really is. It's a virtual rack. I like to refer to it as the rack in the box. Bang for buck, individual one of these. I started to mention earlier, I didn't actually say the cost. I think the XR12, which is the entry level point on the Behringers, 3 something, Dave, was that right? 325 or so.
29. Yep.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're really hot, Tim.
Yeah. 329, Tim? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
think
329.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you just took two, and Maxima mentioned this earlier too, if you took just 2 pieces of rack gear, you're gonna be at least $300, unless you're buying some, used stuff. And even then,
Good.
you still got cabling and everything else that you're gonna need. So, bang for buck, if you're looking at doing either transmit audio or transmit and receive audio, breaking stuff out. Maximum mentioned running different radios, with using the one box. I mean, that's a
One,
huge
two.
plus.
Audio. Hello.
You're good, Tim.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. The so yeah, bang for buck, these things are a good value. And it sounds upfront like it's a lot of money, but in the long run of buying individual rack pieces, it's a huge cost saver. Very much so. Let me close these back down and so I can stop sharing again. Is there any questions from anybody? No questions?
Yeah. Drop in here, mornings and evening here, at least in the States. You can usually catch me or Rick around here.
Or Tim?
Keep an eye out for us. And Tim's in here.
So
But if you've got questions, grab one of us.
Yeah, all of our calls are good on QRZ as well as email links in there too. So even Maximo. So if you have questions with anything, feel free to ask away. And if you want to see a demo on just a certain effect or anything like that, drop us a note or an email or message us, and we'll see what we can throw together and do. All right.
One more thing I think we forgot to comment is that we can the snapshots. We can there is a something called snapshot in the interface where you can save many different settings depending on the purpose or whatever. So for example, we have a setting for transmitting 4K in the radio or 8K, or I have a different one to use in YouTube when recording videos and things like that. So there are different settings, and you save all of that in the snapshots. Now Dave is showing that. And in a click, you changing completely from one setup for a different one.
Yeah, think of snapshots like profiles, like your bandwidth profiles or your audio profiles that you would set up on some of the SDR radios. Snapshots are really handy for doing that. And you would load your snapshot. You can bring up that panel again, if you want to bring that up. So actually, if you have one in there, you can name it, and then if you double click on it or you highlight it in orange and hit load, it'll instantly load that snapshot, and it loads it like extremely fast. There's no lag on that. It's instant almost. As soon as you click on it, it's loaded up and ready to go.
I'm not doing that.
No, I know, because it'll cut you off.
Oh, guarantee it.
Yes, I know. But yeah, it's a very useful device. I know Dave, like I said earlier, Dave likes to do his on receive as well. And I think I need to play around with this some more, and Dave could probably touch base on this. I know it's in a whole nother topic, but on receive, you could probably filter out some noise
Yes.
In there to make a signal or an audio that's buried in the noise come out a little
Well,
bit, make it a little bit easier to hear it.
Something else that I have found that's useful, particularly with the dynamic range of an SDR, I have a compressor in on my receive audio, because the dynamic range of these SDRs, you can copy a signal that's like just above the noise floor, but the audio level is also way down. So when you get a S9 signal in with somebody who's just above the noise floor, the guy that's S9 is about to blow you out of the room, and you've got the volume up to hear the other guy, and it kills you. So you can run a compressor on the receiver too. You see, I've got that set up here. The other thing you could do in regard to what you're talking about, Rick, would be you could bring your EQ in on the because I've got the Flex has left and right inputs, so you could come up here, and if there's a lot of high frequency noise you want to trim out of it, you can do that. If you switch this to a low cut, you can kind of notch out an area that your ears can pick that audio out of there better and get rid of some of that stuff. It's very much like changing your passband width on the RF on your SDR receiver. You can do things, or if you need to hear him just a little more clarity, come up in here in this 2 and 3 kilohertz. 1 kilohertz somewhere in there. It's not going to sound beautiful, but if you're really trying to just pull a weak signal out, that's where a lot of the vocal clarity comes in at. Yep. So you can do that and help pull some signals out with it as well. But most of these SDRs, if you're seeing them above the noise floor, you're probably going to copy them.
Yeah, that's really handy on some of the older analog type radios, where if you're
absolutely
pulling out of the speaker jack and you're running it into DX Air, and you're dumping that out to either your headphones or a set of speakers, monitors, or a decent set of speakers, you can really wake up what you're hearing versus what the radio is capable of on its own. It's buried in the audio there. It's detected in the receiver. It's just the way the audio's and the filtering is that you're not hearing it. So if you can give it a little boost with, pulling the highs up and cutting some of the other stuff, or like Dave was showing earlier, cutting some of the high frequencies or the lows out of it, and make that range of frequencies stand out more, it's a lot easier to hear it.
Yep. Or if you're working a guy that's got his EQ jacked up down here in the low end, you can come over here and pull it down so you can actually hear his highs over the mud.
Yep.
A lot of things to do.
Yep, very much so. All right. I'm going to ask again, any questions?
Okay, yeah. Well, there's something in the chat there that M0HPF said. He says, have a look at the dual combinator effect in mixing station. He says it's a totally different perspective and easy to tune the effects.
On the dual combinator? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's in a DAW instead of a standalone unit. So yeah, right. just a little different flavor of doing that.
Yeah. It's for me, I think the dual combinator is one of my favorite effects to use in there.
It's extremely useful.
It can be extremely picky on getting set up, but once you play around there for a while, it's a very useful tool. Again, I'll post my scene or my individual, the way I have mine set up out there. So if anybody wants to load it up and take a look at it, you're more than welcome to.
And something to keep in mind, if you have one of these and you've got stuff cabled up and you grab one of my profiles or one of Rick's profiles, I'm sending the audio out of aux1 to the radio. Rick is using the main left right XLRs. So if you bring that profile in and you're cabled up to something, bear in mind it's changing how that's all set up.
Yeah. So you might have to change your outputs. Also, back to the same thing on the input channels too. If somebody was to load my scene up, I use mic input 3. If you're using a different input channel, you just need to go in to where Dave was showing you earlier and change the input to match whatever your actual input is for your radio, or not your radio, but how you've got it set up in the XR. So like where Dave's at right now, mine is set on IMP3, and Dave's using 2 in his example, or 1.
Well, input 2 for my B1, yeah.
Yeah, you would just need to change it there.
Yeah, bear in mind, this input number is not this channel number. This is the physical input number here.
Physical is on the front of the actual unit itself.
Yeah, let's see, where's that at?
Your very first slide.
Yeah, that one right there.
Yep.
That corresponds with these numbers, and the first 4 are the only XLRs.
It's disappeared again.
Oh, go figure. Okay. Why did it do that? Are we back?
Yep, now you are.
Okay, there you go.
Yep. Yeah, that IMP, now it's gone again, but okay. I think when you move your mouse, it's going away.
I put my mouse on it and it makes it disappear. That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, but that's where that's based off of.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And when the video gets done here and I get it all compressed down, I'll post it out there. And we'll post the scene files and individual files that we're all using. I'll create another little tab over in the text channels for, I'll just call it XR. And we'll post that stuff there. And you guys, if you're running any of this stuff and you want to share your files, you can post it there. But I would also highly recommend that you post it out on the XR groups.io, which Maximo posted the link to in the chat channel as well. With that, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great evening, great day, whatever time it is, wherever you're at. And we'll probably do another presentation shortly after the first of the year on maybe one of the digital modes, probably VAR AC. Hope you all have a great day and a good upcoming holiday and a nice new year.
M0HPF just made a comment. He says, I think for the first timers, the confusing bit is the difference between channels and buses. We could touch on that a little bit, I guess, quickly.
Yeah, if you want to, Dave, that'd be great.
And so what he's talking about is where you see buses over here. These are bus 1 through 6. You see here, that one's labeled 6 still. I've renamed these. What you see here, main, left, right, you're mixing all of these individual channels into a bus. This one's the main, left, right. So this is the master volume for everything that's mixed in that bus. For here, the Flex 6300. This is everything that's going to that bus. Now in the XR, I'm pretty sure they ship factory setup to where aux1 is bus 1. So it's this bus here. So I have both of my side chained reverbs. Yes, I run 2 reverbs. Don't ask me why, but I don't know. I thought I liked the sound, so that's what I did. And so I've got my main microphone, if I'm not using this one at all, or you can leave that up. You see it's muted. And if I wanted to switch, I can just go there. Now I'm switched. But anyway, that is, you mix this up and it's this bus. It's like each one of those can be an output. Now on the XR, you're limited to your left, right master and the aux1, aux2. Now the XR18s, you've got, I think, is it 6 or 8 XLR outputs that would each be an aux send. So you could send one of those, say if you've got 2 or 3 different radios, you could send a separate mix or a little different EQing or whatever you needed to each individual radio on that setup, or whatever you needed to do. Or that's the killer of this stuff. It's meant for doing sound work like a band or something like that, but in our application it's got way more flexibility sometimes than what you need, and then sometimes not enough. But that's sort of where the buses are, where a channel is simply, this is one microphone here on the SM58 and whatever is inserted on that channel. If in this case I have nothing inserted, now on my B1 there's nothing inserted. That's your effect here. You can come in like this is inserted on the buses. So on this particular bus, you see here I have FX1B, so that's effect number 1, and that would be the B side of it. And that's something when you get playing in these, you need to be mindful of, because A is my combinator settings for this multi-band compressor that's going to the flex. B is the settings that are going to my feed going to the computer that goes out for Discord and stuff. And I actually think right now they're the same, but if I felt the need to change those, I could. And something else I can touch on here too. If you have multiple microphones you want to mess around with and you can't get the detail you want out of this 4-band parametric, you could bring one of these dual EQs in, such as right here, these dual graphics. You could bring one of those in and they appear the same as these do, but it really acts as 2 independent equalizers. So you can see here, one's on channel 11, one's on channel 12. Well, if you inserted those to channel 1 and channel 2, each side of that becomes a very detailed equalizer to work on each one of those channels independently. But, when you think of this as each one of these is an instrument or a microphone, and you can bring them all together into a bus, and then that bus goes to a single point. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of what that is.
It's like summoning all those channels.
Yeah. Yep. It's it gets deeper and deeper. There's a lot more to it than what we've touched here, but this has kind of been of an idea of just to give you an introduction and a little taste of what's there. There's a whole lot more to them than what we've touched on.
There is a individual EQ for every input.
Yes. Yes. Every one of these.
If you, yeah.
Yeah. Right here, each channel, you have an independent noise gate, the 4-band parametric, which there is a low cut on those as well. And I would recommend you use it. I have it in here on the B1. Because like if you thump on your desk, for instance, my mic is on a boom arm, and if you bang around on the desk with a mouse, a keyboard when you're typing, whatever, you'll get that thump 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 through the microphone. So you can usually take care of that with a low cut to keep that out.
If you click on the first tab on the top, mixer, the mixer tab.
Oh yes, right here.
Yeah, there you see a small view of the AQ profile.
Yep,
there
right
in
here.
the middle. Yeah, there is. So you can see every different EQ for every input. You have a preview there.
I think this one I believe is your gate, your equalizer, and I think that's your compressor curve here.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think that's right. The other thing is, and I know we didn't touch on this, with condenser mics and dynamic mics, you have the option with a condenser mic to actually have a 48 volt feed to that individual channel that you have that mic set up, where you can turn that on and off
right there.
So you don't need an external device to power your condenser mic. And actually, all of the inputs on the X-Air series are very, very quiet. They're not noisy at all. They've used really good.
They run Midas preamps in them. They're really good.
Yep, they're very clean.
And Midas also makes versions of these too, which are almost identical to these. They cost a lot more though.
Yep. And then I think, is it Soundcraft Maximo that makes the other version of similar to this? But I think they're about the same price, or maybe just a little bit less than the X series.
I'm not sure about the prices.
It's a very similar.
It's very similar, yeah.
Yes.
It's very similar. Not a big difference.
So if you're not a fan of Behringer and you want to do Soundcraft, you can go that way. I know Behringer's had a few products that have had some.
Midas as well is the same stuff as this,
Right.
but there
It's-
is a website where they compare both the Behringer XR18 with the Midas MR18, and it's the same, but the components are different brands, different quality.
Yep.
Midas is, I don't remember, it's something like 50% more expensive, but it's supposed to be better quality. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but my feeling with that is, if you're using it in a transmit side of things and it's going out over the air, I don't think you'd ever notice that difference.
Yeah,
That you could justify the 50% increase in cost on. Not in an amateur radio
no,
situation.
not amateur radio.
Now,
Yeah.
if you were recording something like a symphony or doing some band recordings or something like that, yes, I could see where that could be justified.
Yeah, you are right.
All right, anything else? Chat channel empty, Dave?
It's empty.
It's empty. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Hope this was a little beneficial to anybody that had any interest in it, and we'll do we'll do something else here in the next couple months or so. So thanks again. I appreciate everybody jumping in. Maximo and Dave, thanks very much for jumping in on the idea here and helping out with this. I greatly appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Right. Hope you all have a great evening and a great day, great morning, wherever you're at.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. I have returned